is shaking things up.
Nothing happened.
A brand new era.
Nothing happened other than the first 30 minutes. Okay, so...
Yeah, the first 30 minutes where we had like 30 minutes of Baron Corbin, and then the main event of next week's show is in fact Baron Corbin. Like, are you kidding me? Is this for real?
That's for real. That
Dude.
Baron Corbin's not even the big problem.
He's a big problem. Especially when Seth comes out and he does a promo saying, I heard the fans. I heard everything they said. It's like, and then you're going to main event with Baron Corbin next week?
Well, they booed the hell out of Baron Corbin. He actually had a lot of heat, but I don't consider that a positive. The crowd tonight was really rabid at the beginning, and it was completely dead at the end.
Yeah, because they fell for it hook, line, and sinker when Vince and the family went out there, and then they got the same damn show, basically.
They talked like a good talk. They talked a good game, and they like presented the same stuff. There's a real fundamental problem here, and the first segment was really it. It's that the problem here, and this is like it's an inherent thing. Whether it's pro wrestling, whether it's boxing, whether it's MMA, whether it's television in general, or movies, or music, or whatever, this is a star-driven world. And you make your money when you create stars. And with wrestling, whatever it is, it's like I felt like more than ever, you got a whole bunch of worker bees. And worker bees is just like, you'll have an audience, and they have their audience that's going to be okay. And I guess there's still enough to break even on their arena shows, and the TV ratings are falling, but they're cool for the next 5 years. There's not any problem. There's not going to be any problems there financially. There's no problems and all that. But they're losing popularity, and you never want to have a business that's losing popularity. They're losing popularity, and the way to regain popularity is you make stars. And it's like tonight, just an example. I mean, the whole show is the stars are the McMahons, and it's like you make the thing is you need to keep making new stars. It's like a frickin', it's like if the music industry only had Bruce Springsteen, or Hulk Hogan or something like that. It's like, well, this is actually, in many ways, this is reminiscent of the end of WCW. Other than the fact that they're not going to go out of business, in the sense that, okay, there's problems, but what are we going to do? More Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan's a star. But the point is that you have to prepare for your future, and Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon are not the future. God knows Vince isn't. I don't want to get into Vince tonight, but I'm sure we will. But they needed to make stars, and I watched like Drew McIntyre, who they want to be a star, was a 50-50 guy tonight. For no, he was just a guy on the show. He didn't stand out, nothing like that. The whole women's division was like Stephanie dominating, and it was a bunch of worker bees spending an hour boring the people to death, in something that went way too long. They didn't have anything that set up any matches in a good way. The next week we got the Miracle on 34th Street fight, which is fine and good. It is Christmas Eve, and you do those shows and all that, but and I guess it worked okay in the arena, but all I know is the last couple times I've seen these theme gimmick street fight matches, they usually die. And it's like, because something used to work, and it's a holiday, we're going to do this theme. But if it hasn't worked in years, isn't that like a clue that maybe the stuff that was cute once, everyone's seen, and they don't care about it anymore?
Dave, if you don't remember what happened last week, it's very unlikely you're going to remember what happened last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's another thing. One of the things that we always talk about, and this is actually the key point in all this, is that nothing's going to change. We're going to listen to the fans. So let's look at the bullshit, okay? About how look at who is being brought up from NXT, okay?
Here are your NXT names, everybody.
Okay, so they announced new people who they're bringing up, and was it Johnny Gargano? I mean, it's like, what did I just say the other day? The number one way to determine who gets over is who gets over. Everything everything else is bullshit. Okay, like you say, they're good looking. Good looking is cool, but if they don't get over, it doesn't really matter if you're good looking. Sometimes guys are even great promos and don't necessarily get over for whatever reason, although usually they do. You know, you go like, this guy's a really good worker, but he can't get over, and then he gets over. Well, that tells you he got over. Sometimes guys are great workers and they don't get over. Okay? But if I look at who the guys are that got over the most in NXT in the last year, and then I look at these guys that are being brought up, these are two different universes. It's like you want to shake things up with people who, because they're good looking, you know, we're going to bring them up, can be stars. It's the same problem that we've had all along. It's like we're narrowcasting, we're doing TV for the masses, so, you know, they have to be like a certain way, even though everyone that we've handpicked, for the most part, hasn't really worked. And guys who we thought could never get over with the masses, whether it would be CM Punk or Daniel Bryan or whatever, did get over. You know, it's like, can you learn that lesson? You know, it's like these guys are tearing it up in NXT, and we're going to bring up guys that, I mean, and again, I think that Heavy Machinery has a lot of charisma, and I'm not sure that they're exactly what needs to be brought up, but I actually like watching those guys.
Dude, I love these guys, but they've done nothing with AOP.
Well, AOP's different. AOP doesn't have the charisma these guys have.
One of these guys has charisma. That's nothing against Tucker.
Yeah. You're right.
It's all Otis Dozovich, but still, I mean.
Yeah, but as a unit, they're kind of cool. But it's like, I'm not sure that, you know, again, who got over more, the Undisputed Era or these guys? Now, I know there's probably this thing, well, we don't want to move the Undisputed Era up because they're carrying NXT, but shouldn't you be bringing up your most over guys when you want to shake things up? I mean, isn't that like the thing of making new stars, not bringing in new, again, like Heavy Machinery? I mean, they're not going to turn the tag team division around. They're going to be fine, I guess. But you know, Tucker Knight's a really big guy and he's a good athlete. But he doesn't have a lot of charisma, but the other guy does. Okay, so there's there. EC3, and he may, you know, EC3. I mean, he's got some stuff going for him. He's got a name from Impact. He's got a great look. He's a great promo. He's not a good wrestler. And maybe he'll make it. But the point is that he was not the most over guy in NXT. But you know, and Lars Sullivan, I can see, he's Vince's prototype and all that, and they're going to push the hell out of him. And then who are the other ones I'm missing? There's Lacey Evans.
We got Lacey Evans. We got Lars Sullivan, EC3, Heavy Machinery, and Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross. Okay. I mean, Nikki Cross is fine, but if you look at who are the most over women in NXT, Nikki Cross was kind of over. Lacey Evans was not. I mean, Lacey Evans, was she even in one of the 10 most over women in NXT? She's not. No way in the 10. You know, you got some of the women like Io Shirai, who came in, was more over in a week than Lacey Evans. She's got a cool look, and again, but the one thing that the Raw division or the women's division doesn't need are good-looking women who are less than average wrestlers. We've seen it. Look, Lana's not kicking ass as a wrestler. She's really good-looking. It's like, if that's what it, I mean, granted, if this was 20 years ago, maybe Lacey Evans was the right choice at that point. I don't know because of her look. All I know is that from what I've seen and what gets over, it's like, why is Lacey Evans being picked ahead of Shayna Baszler or Kairi Sane, who gets over instantly with almost everyone, and who's been there long enough? Do they not want a second Japanese woman? I don't know. I mean, I know Lacey Evans has a cool story, you know, being ex-military service and all that, but the whole thing is that they told that story in NXT, and she was just a woman on the roster. She was never over anything special. To me, your laboratory should tell you, okay, this is working, this is working, this is working, this is average. Well, we don't. We have a roster full of people who are better than average, who we've created to become average because of the way we book them. The last thing we need is to add someone who is average or below average to this roster. We don't need that. I mean, do we need new faces? Absolutely. We need new faces that are going to push the quality up. I mean, you want to shake things up, bring up Ricochet and shoot the rocket behind him. I mean, that guy's one of the most talented guys I've ever seen. Why? Is there a rule he has to be in NXT for a year before we can bring him up? EC3 hasn't been for that long.
Well, I think they consider him a guy who was there and then left and came back. So he has paid his dues in developmental.
Well, that's ridiculous. Especially now when it's like we need to shake things up. Let's shake things up. Let's not bring in a whole bunch of people and even EC3. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, he may do okay. I mean, I liked him in TNA. I like him in NXT. I don't particularly like watching him wrestle, but he is really a good talker and all that. But he's not a guy to shake things up. They got guys there that walked in to NXT on day one, like Adam Cole, who's got all kinds of charisma. But that whole group, just bring the whole group in and let them go. I mean, it's not like they're not over NXT. It's one thing to go like, oh, well, those guys are all good workers, but, they lack charisma and, they can't get over. Well, they were over as baby faces while working as heels in NXT instantly and stayed over. So that's what the lab tells you. It's like you're saying you're going to listen to the fans, and then but you have the same mentality. It's like, this is what works on the big stage. Well, if this was what worked on the big stage, why is everything declining? But the big problem is that the McMahons control everything and everyone else are worker bees. And nobody wants to get behind worker bees. They want to get behind Conor McGregors, who tell the owner to fuck off, and they do whatever they want, whenever they want, and the owners have to beg to them. That's why Dusty Rhodes got over. That's why, every top babyface got over.
Yeah, but we're dealing with a major issue here. Like, you can talk about the lab all you want, but, like, we're talking about something designed in Earth lab that's being sent to Mars. Like, you can bring up the Undisputed Era, you can bring up Ricochet, you can bring up all of those guys, and yeah, in your mind, my mind, everybody watches NXT mind, it's like, this is going to be awesome.
No, I know it's not.
God only knows what they're going to do with them.
I know it's not going to be awesome. I know that. But the point is like, if they're going to screw around with, if they're going to book a whole bunch of 50-50 guys, at least have it to be the 50-50 guys that have already proven that they can get over, as opposed to people who have either proven.
Well, I mean, you say that, but like, look at how over Bayley was in developmental, and she's a 50-50. It doesn't matter how over she is to get herself in NXT. She can't get herself over to that level in WWE. I mean, you can say that for everybody.
She was over when she came in.
Yeah, everyone's going to be over when they come in, but like, give them 3 months.
I know.
That's the big issue here.
Well, to me, that's the big issue right there, is that, like, TV should not get you under. You should, where you start,
you should go from there.
That should be your launching pad, not your peak. Your peak should be like, whatever it is, 9 months in, 2 years in. Your start should be your bottom period, or at least, pretty much your bottom period. But yeah, it's because so the problem here is that you have to revamp how you do television in some way. And maybe
yes.
the 3 hours is a horrible thing, because you create like what you created tonight.
It's a horrible thing, but the problem exists on SmackDown. I mean, I would give anything for Raw to be 2 hours, but like, SmackDown is 2 hours, and it's better most of the time. But it's the same damn problems there as anywhere else.
I've really enjoyed SmackDown of late, though.
What's Andrade Cien Almas doing?
Okay, well, that's...
What's Rusev doing? What's Samoa Joe doing?
Yeah, they're not being utilized.
Like, I can go on and on.
Well, I'll tell you, when it comes to SmackDown, as much as I enjoy it, because Rey Mysterio's on, and a lot of guys that I like to watch are on it. But the thing is that SmackDown really, it's I mean, AJ Styles has been really, really good, but the show is being carried by Daniel Bryan as a heel, who they lucked into. You know what I mean? That's nobody but Daniel Bryan. It's not like creative having some great idea for a guy going like, I'm sure this character is, if not, this character is, and these promos are obviously him because they're so far above mentally what anyone else is going to come up with. So I know that like this is 100% him or 99% him. And then the women, like, again, Becky Lynch caught fire and kind of elevated Charlotte Flair. And I think Asuka's kind of been elevated by being with them. So they've kind of, with the gravitational pull of Becky Lynch, they've all gotten to be like really big stars and they're hot and all that. So that's worked. But again, it's stars. It's not like get a guy and go back and forth. And I guess that like some people can go back and forth and all that and make it. But I mean, like, put it this way. Look at Seth Rollins' booking. It's like so bad. It really is. And he's, he obviously was being groomed for Brock Lesnar, and he's playing himself right out of that game.
No.
But here's the thing. Okay, so that match last night. So anyway, I need to find out what was going on with that match. So the story, and they kind of even told it on television tonight. The story of the match last night, the reason why it was a wrestling match is because the whole idea of this thing was that as much as Seth Rollins hates him, he was goading Seth Rollins into losing his cool, which he ended up doing to win. But the idea of the match was to prove that Seth Rollins, in fact, was not losing his cool, and he was just going to do his normal match to retain his championship. But then at the very end, he lost his cool and lost. So that was the match story. Now, granted, that story completely failed with the audience because it's not what they wanted. But I'm just telling you that that's the story. But yeah, it was a complete, it didn't work. And now he's out there basically.
That might work if A, you had announcers that actually told you that story, and B, if like in the weeks and weeks leading up to the match, he actually hadn't lost his cool. He lost his damn cool on TV on a regular basis.
Well,
now he's going to go into the ring and not lose his cool until the end? Well, he finally gets his hands on the guy?
Well, if he had done the right promo the week before, going like, there's nothing you can do to make me lose my cool, I'm going to do my normal match, and I'm going to retain the championship. And then he loses his cool and loses. That would make him look like a complete idiot, but which essentially was what the booking did anyway. But yeah, you needed the promo to set all that up, which they didn't do, and absolutely you needed the announcers to tell that story, which they did today, but they didn't yesterday. So yeah, that's a lot of the things. It's like I shouldn't have to be asking what the fuck is going on. It should be like obvious to everyone what's going on in these stories. So it's that. If you're going to turn over a new leaf, that should probably be the leaf. And then the announcing, just everything. Oh, my God. It's like I was welcoming change, and the change is no change other than we're going to put the McMahons on television. And because it's all, you're trying to convince these people that it was all Baron Corbin's fault and these guys that, who else's fault has this been? I mean, they basically admitted we're going to start listening to you and... Okay, whatever.
Well, let's go through this here. We'll try and make it quick. Vince comes out, and of course, everybody cheers like crazy. They give him a standing ovation. They bow to him the whole 9 yards. He says, I don't want to hear any boos. They all boo. Vince is sounding very old.
Vince was, yeah. I was sad seeing Vince on television. Because he looked old. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I know it worried me, though. I was worried watching Vince. I do think that's the problem. It's guys get, it really is. I see it. And, I mean, everyone's kind of knows it, but I think that it really, when you see it, it kind of hits you.
So he says, we've been on the air 25 years because we change with the times. Says, despite my genius, I can't do this by myself. He calls out Stephanie. She calls out Triple H. He calls out Shane McMahon. Shane and Stephanie, hated rivals. They hug. They smile.
They're all on the same page, and now they're all baby faces.
Yep, they're all baby faces now.
They're all baby faces now.
Steph says, we're here tonight because we haven't been doing a good job with the fans lately. We've not been listening to our audience. We've let middle managers air their grievances. We've taken it out on the superstars. It ends tonight. Fresh start. Hunter says we're taking over. Everybody's cheering. They're falling for everything that they say. Hook, line, and sinker.
We're taking over. Who's been in charge of this thing for the last 25 years?
Well, we're supposed to believe Baron Corbin. These are the absentee management that he's talking about, I guess. Seth says we're going to empower the superstars. We're going to empower the fans. Hunter says we're going to give you what you want.
Don't you remember when they had Kurt Angle? All they wanted to do was cut his balls off.
Of course. Hey, this is new, Dave. This is new. It's fresh. You're going to see new faces, new superstars, new matchups. The fans are the authority. And then Vince says, as long as we give you more of what you want and less of what you don't want, it'll be then, now, forever.
Well, he's right. He's right. You figure out what they don't want, and you stop, and you give them more of what they want. I'm not sure I saw...
I don't think he knows what they want. I think that's abundantly clear.
I mean, I don't know that anyone knows. I mean, because it varies and changes so much, but...
Dave, we watch NXT every week. Those fans are always happy. Like, they give those fans what they want.
On the big shows they are, because those guys... But
yes. This is not that hard.
Yeah, because you go out there and deliver dynamic performances. Although, again, half of that pay-per-view or a third of that pay-per-view last night was phenomenal. But, there was so much that was anything but.
So Baron Corbin comes out. He gets booed out of the building. He says it wasn't fair what happened last night. I want to talk. They go to commercial here, presuming we're going to come back for more Corbin. Come back and everyone's booing. He's taking forever to get to his point. Hunter actually says his point for him because he's taken so long. Vince says, listen, here's a chance for you to be permanent GM. All you have to do is beat one guy. Out comes Kurt Angle. Steph says there's a special referee. It's Heath Slater. We have Corbin versus Kurt. Hunter comes out, says it's a handicap match. He adds Rude, Gable, Apollo Crews. We got a 4-on-1 battle. It goes on for like 5 minutes. I don't even know why. Shane comes out, says it's no DQ. They hit him with chairs. Slater's beating on him. Finally, Kurt gives him the angle slam for the pin. Fans did cheer after he got beaten, but this was 30 straight minutes of this. And they put him through a table.
I mean, the people did, like I said, Baron Corbin had a lot of heat. But, I mean, if it was good heat, the ratings wouldn't be where they are.
Yeah. We had to hear new, fresh, and you are the authority about 30 times in this 30-minute period here.
And it was not new or fresh, other than we had Kurt come out and...
The same damn thing we saw at the pay-per-view. The exact same thing we saw at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, except no Braun Strowman.
No Braun Strowman. We had clips of Cena getting the Muhammad Ali Sportsman of the Year award. Ziggler versus Balor. They went to a break, came back for the near falls. Ziggler hit a DDT. Finn went up top. Ziggler cut him off. Drew McIntyre comes down to ringside. Ziggler goes after him. Finn hits a dive. Ziggler waffles him with Fameasser, and then finally Drew just hits the ring for the shitty DQ. 4 McMahons in the building. Nobody came out to do anything about this. Just a bad DQ. Drew laid out everybody with Claymore kicks. They're doing a 3-way on the show next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought that this in and of itself was cool. I mean, when I talked about Drew earlier, my point was actually more having to do with next week's show, because they do the 3-way and Finn Balor wins. And it's kind of like, okay.
Hey, it's Christmas Eve. Got to give the babyfaces a win. The one time all year.
I suppose, and they didn't. It's not like they're going to beat Drew, but I just felt the last couple of days that Drew is starting to become one of the guys.
Yeah, he's cooling off, and they beat him multiple times.
Yeah, I know, and for absolutely no reason to.
Ambrose out for a promo. This moron comes out with a bunch of dudes with gas masks on. Like, the dumbest fan had to know where this was going. Calls the people fat and disgusting. Says everything he said happened last night happened. Seth lost control. He choked. He failed. Says he's just getting started. He's going to end his career. Says, Seth, come on out. Let's do a challenge here. Not for the title, but an open challenge. No Seth Rollins. So he says, well, fine. I'll put the title on the line against anybody whose name is not Seth. Out comes, straight off of NXT television, Tyler Breeze. If you watch Tyler Breeze on NXT TV in that match with Ricochet, you didn't get it here. They gave him a generic entrance. He didn't even get his jacket. He's just a guy. They have a match. It's just like a WWE Heat, WWE comeback. Nobody believes the guy's got a chance. Dean has a dirty deeds, gets the pin. I mean, the match was fine, but
It was all right. It was funny because
this was not Tyler versus Ricochet, which got over huge on NXT.
yeah, but the one thing is there is a difference that any main roster guy that goes into Full Sail is going to be treated like a king, because those people are just, as much as they love the NXT, those people they know the big stars are the big stars. Because I remember Titus O'Neil would come in and they would go crazy, or anyone. EC3 came in and they thought God came, because it was a TNA guy, or James Storm, or any of those type of guys. If you're a star and you come there, you're gonna, especially first time, you're gonna get a really, really big reaction. But the people didn't care about this match, and the minute they cared, like literally, oh my God, you started to hear a little bit of chants for Tyler. It was kind of like, oh, maybe, and that minute he got hit with the dirty deeds.
Yep.
It's like if they had gone like 3 minutes longer, I think he might have been able to, but I mean, in the end, he was going to lose anyway. But I think he may have been able to like make an impression. When right here, it's like he was about to make an impression and then he lost. And I was like, okay, this didn't really help him at all, and it wasn't very interesting either.
So Charlie, who saw a 20-minute segment with the McMahons, goes to Shane and goes, "What does this all mean?"
Well, that was my question, so I don't think that was a bad question.
He says opportunity is knocking. There are going to be some new faces. That's it. That was his answer. Drake Maverick shows up.
Hey, we're gonna have new faces. Yeah.
Drake says, "I want AOP to have their mandatory rematch."
Well, the good thing was Drake Maverick comes in. He wanted to introduce himself to Shane, like Shane wouldn't know who he is, which immediately tells you what like, you know what I mean? Like, he's no star. I mean, if he was a star, you know what I mean? Drake Maverick, you're doing a great job on 205 Live. We didn't hear that, did we?
And Raw.
Well, he didn't do a great job on Raw.
I mean, he's there. He should be known for being on Raw as well.
That would stretch credibility. No, but I mean, Shane should know who he is, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're doing a great job with AOP, and these guys are monsters, and blah, blah, blah. But no, it's like, oh, let me introduce myself to you. I'm this little guy who runs around here, and I know you don't know who I am. And it's like, well, God, if Shane doesn't think you're important or doesn't know you, then why do I care?
Shane says, "No more mandatory rematches. It's a land of opportunity here. This is antiquated."
Okay. In all the lists, we complain a lot.
Yeah, that's low on the priority list.
I don't think that I've ever complained. Have you ever heard anyone complain about mandatory rematches?
I've never heard about anyone complain about mandatory rematches, but I have heard people complain that we see the same damn matches over and over and over again. But like a mandatory rematch is one mandatory rematch for a championship.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever complained about this ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, in the sense that it's set up a four-way, and they put the Revival over, because I guess Vince liked, what was the match? It's like a little over a month ago. Remember the Revival had a really good TV match when Rollins and Ambrose that gave him that like really good TV match.
I don't remember, but it did do a damn bit of good in the end.
Well, no, because that's what they're getting their title, the title shot. Because of this, yeah, I know it doesn't fit in the end up losing the title shot anyway. But the thing is like Vince really liked a Revival match from like several weeks ago, and then still buried them the next couple of weeks of that stupid Lucha House Party shit. This is kind of like, okay, they've been buried with the Lucha House Party thing. Now we're gonna give the people what they want because the people seem to like the Revival. So there you go.
They randomly mention who's coming to the WWE. Don't mention what brand. We have this long-ass segment. Lashley and Leo rush in the ring. Leo goes on and on. Lashley's going to perform his greatest hits on the guitar, but instead he poses. He bends over. Elias waffles him with a guitar. Lashley barely sells it. That's the entire segment. This went like 10 minutes. Lucha House Party versus the Revival versus the B Team versus the AOP. Lucha House Party down to two guys this week. Cole calls them the Luchas. He's been doing this for like 20 years.
Okay, so at least that's good. We're they dropped that silliness.
Kalisto hot tag, runs wild on Bo. Here's the thing with these restart shows. So, the Revival has been treated like geeks for so long.
Yeah.
That they're here, and they're in the ring together, and nobody gives a shit about the Revival. And they win, and they barely get a reaction.
Well,
and it's like, well, what the fuck do you expect? You've been treating them like geeks, and now all of a sudden you're going to push them?
Well, Rome's not built in a day, so I mean, I can't.
Yeah, it's burning.
Well, I know, but if you want to change, you're going to have to pay. Some change and changing of guys who haven't gotten an opportunity is not going to work in 5 minutes. It's going to take some patience in certain cases.
No, but you know what? If I want to get the Revival over, like the first thing I do is not book them in a 4-way where there's like 2 dudes in an 8-person match, and they're like sort of there. Like, give them something.
I agree.
Or why bother? And actually, why bother? Because, spoiler alert, everybody, they get their championship match next week and they lose. So what the hell was the point of this? What change have we seen?
Well, let's wait until next week's show to see if that match, if it's a really good match and they lose, then that's good. If it's just a normal match nobody cares about and then they lose, then...
Well, given it was a 6-hour taping, I can't imagine there's going to be great heat for this match.
Yeah, but it might be still, you can still have a good match. I mean, pretty much the crowd was dead after after Corbin left, pretty much. I think the rest of the show was pretty dead.
Charlie's with Seth Rollins.
I guess they were. I guess the Ronda stuff was good, as far as like crowd reactions. No, not really, because it was you had the people who wanted to boo her, and then you had the other people who didn't know what to make of her. So even that wasn't really that heated, although she has the presence and all that of the star.
Charlie's with Seth. She says, and I quote, "I wanted to ask you about last night." That's her question.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Well, it was a disaster, personally and professionally. To top it all off, I heard the crowd last night. I heard everything they said. That's on me. That's my responsibility. It's not just about my performance in the ring or losing titles. It's my life. I've dedicated everything to this. I've gone off the rails. I'm going to right this ship. I'm going to end Dean Ambrose." So, like, it's more important to entertain the fans than to, like, win or lose your championship?
Well, he's trying to explain. He's trying to hit the idea that he
bored them? So how's he going to fix this problem?
Not boring them, I guess.
How's he going to do that? More Falcon arrows, more dives? That's why they were bored.
I don't
Get every other damn match they've ever seen.
I don't know. I don't know how he's not going to bore them. Look, the guy was the most over guy, 2 months ago. Not even 2 months ago. I mean, as far as the males on that roster, he was the most over guy until just a couple of weeks ago. So, he
Sounds like this feud sucks. Sounds like this Roman Reigns leukemia stuff sucks. Sounds like getting inoculated before you go to a city sucks.
Well, okay, so that was really bad comedy, and you're right. A lot of that stuff really sucked, and so he's in a bad feud, and that'll take people down. True.
Ronda Rousey comes out, mix of cheers and boos. She's talking about Nia, told her she'd kiss the right hand goodbye, told Charlotte I'd write the next chapter, told Becky not to mess with me. Cutting one of her overly verbose promos about what it means to be a real champion. The best the human race has to offer.
Yeah.
Fans are booing, chanting for Becky.
Yeah, I thought that this promo was not good. And, she's done a lot better on her promos of late, but I think that when she does those things where she lists what a champion is, it didn't really work the last time. So I think that now it's kind of like, okay, move on from that direction. That direction doesn't work. I hope she doesn't do it again, because it didn't work again here.
She says that she wants a new tradition. The champion shows up the night after every pay-per-view in whatever shape they're in to defend the title. Isn't that what the pay-per-view's for? Issues an open challenge. I swear to God, how many times on this show has somebody issued an open challenge and somebody just comes out?
Like every
time. Yeah. This time she issues an open challenge. They cut backstage, and there's 8 women screaming at the production crew. And Stephanie gets to show up and screech at everybody.
There was 10 women.
10 women.
10 women.
She screeches at everybody to shut up and follow her. They stand in a completely awkward single file line facing the ring. She says, I'm not playing favorites anymore. Everybody's going to get the opportunity. Tonight, there's going to be an 8-woman gauntlet match.
Oh, okay. A gauntlet match inherently is unfair.
Yeah. And the first two are Alicia and Bailey, and they're so happy going down to the ring. And I'm like, you two should be pissed. You're number 1 and 2.
If you're not playing favorites, you do like a tournament. A tournament's not playing favorites. A gauntlet is completely playing favorites.
Well, they're pretending it's random, so she's not playing favorites. But still, it's unfair.
Wait a minute. No. She picked you and you start. She's like Stephanie McMahon is in control. And
actually, she did pick you and you. You're right.
Yeah, but I mean the whole concept of, it's exactly like, even though they're babyface authority figures, but it's all about when she's standing there with all those women, okay, and she's standing there in the center and she's bossing everybody around. Who's the star? Did Bailey and Alicia Fox look like stars? They were two worker bees, like I said. The last thing they need is a frickin', worker bees don't draw money. And here's the other thing too. I know Vince, whatever it is, Vince knows how to fix the house show problem. Whatever it is, I don't know exactly how, but he has all the answers. Okay, I can tell you one of the answers of what's not going to fix the house show problem is that you tour with a bunch of worker bees and the stars aren't on any of the shows. That will not fix the problems. And the more you build around the authority figures that don't go to the house shows, you're not going to be fixing the house show problem. The house show problem is fixed when you have an attraction, when somebody comes through, like, and just gets over so huge, and people want to pay to see them, and my God, Bill Goldberg or Dusty Rhodes or, Ric Flair is coming to my town, and I want to see him, as opposed to Raw's coming. Who's on the Raw show? We don't got Roman Reigns. We don't got Braun Strowman. They're all hurt. Everybody's hurt. And we got Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose in that boring angle on the main event.
So we had an hour-long gauntlet match with the random women here. Alicia Fox and Bailey starts. They go forever. Crowd's dead.
I hope to God that they don't lose a ton of audience with this.
Are you kidding me?
Because I was watching it and my gut was that
this will die.
I thought that. I mean, you don't know, because sometimes the women do real well in ratings. But I mean, it died for the live crowd, and I was watching it as a fan, and I just couldn't wait for this thing to end. It took forever. I think the whole thing with, even though they only had 8 of the 10 women in the gauntlet, it's like, I know from what I've seen, there's 10 women, which means there's going to be 9 matches, and it's like, I don't want to sit here for 9 matches with matchups of women that, again, haven't been really pushed at.
So Alicia and Bailey do a match. Bailey goes over the top in the corner, blows out her knee, and of course immediately wins with a cradle. Bailey versus Dana Brooke. Dana with a long-ass chin lock.
The thing did play into, her elimination, though. I mean, it wasn't like the knee and then she forgot it.
Dude, but you don't blow out your knee and then immediately win with a cradle.
Well, you can win with the cradle. That's not so bad to immediately win with the cradle, but you don't blow out your knee and then you're healthy and healthy and healthy. But I guess Seth did.
Yes, he does it in every match.
Yeah. Well, again, that's part of pro wrestling is you hurt your knee, you make your comeback, and then something happens, and then he gives out later in the match, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense of what you did earlier. And this was just basic pro wrestling. That didn't bother me at all.
It bothered me a lot. Dana with a long chin lock here on the show. I couldn't even believe my eyes. Bailey, it's a belly to Bailey out of nowhere for the pin. Bailey versus Mickie James. Another long chin lock. Now Bailey selling her elbow. Makes a comeback, goes for the elbow off the top. Mickie got the ropes. Crowd actually was into that near fall. Bailey tries a belly to Bailey. Mickie cuts her off, yanks her to the buckle, DDTs her for the pin. So how did that play into the finish with her knee? She got yanked into the buckle and pinned with a DDT.
She got her knee clipped right before.
She was yanked into the buckle.
She got her knee clipped right before. Here's the funny thing. That's how I saw it the way you saw it. I had to watch the replay because the announcers did say she took out her knee, and I didn't see it, but when I watched the replay, she did take out her knee right before the finish. So it actually did. Yeah.
Mickey and Ember, they went through a commercial break. Ember with the Eclipse for the pin. Then we had Natty versus Ember. Ember went right for another chin lock. There's about the 6th chin lock in this gauntlet here. Crowd's absolutely dead. Natty goes for the sharpshooter. Ember cradles her. Natty kicks out. O'Connor roll for the pin. Natty versus Ruby Riott. Got a long cravat this time. Lisa wasn't a chin lock. Fans are dead. Natty fights back. Trade cradles. Natty hits a couple of snap suplexes. And then Riott misses a reverse senton. Natty rolls her up for the pin. Natty versus Sasha is the last match. Renee says, I don't think Sasha Banks was sitting back there just waiting it out. Cole says, actually, she was. Sasha jumps off the top, falls down. Natty rolls her up, tries a sharpshooter. Sasha fights free. Banks statement. Crowd did get into the last few minutes of this match.
I thought this match, at the end, was very good. It just took forever to get there.
Sasha got German under her head, and then Natty finally puts her in the sharpshooter for the clean submission. Natty versus Sasha and Bayley versus Mickey were pretty good. The rest of this, they were just nothing happened in matches that went an hour.
Yeah.
So then they have Ronda come out, and they announce Ronda versus Natty, best friends match next week on Raw. Balor versus Drew versus Dolph. Lashley versus Elias, Miracle and 34th Street Fight. Heyman's there. And Seth versus Baron Corbin.
Heyman's there to get antlers put on him.
Yeah. Hey, listen, everybody. If you don't want spoilers, skip ahead 5 minutes, because here they are. This is next week's Raw show. We've got Elias beating Bobby Lashley in a Miracle on 34th Street fight. Afterwards, Elias pours eggnog on Lio Rush.
Okay. They used a candy cane kendo stick, although it was never actually used. Elias won by hitting him with a cello. So it was the match actually did get over live.
Bobby Roode and Chad Gable beat the Revival to retain the Raw Tag Team titles.
Yes, I heard that this was a good match, but they didn't give him a lot of time. And the story was that Dash Wilder was pinned, but he was the illegal man. So
can you just tell me we gotta wait and see if this got over, and then you just told me they didn't get much time?
Yeah, but it's my notes here say good match, so I figure let's watch it if it's a good match.
All right.
And they didn't blow them off because, like I said, they pinned the illegal man, and that was so the idea is that it, in theory keeps the thing going.
Finn Balor beat Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler when Ziggler was pinned with a coup de grace. And then McIntyre went to attack Balor, but was laid out by Ziggler.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, he got hit with a zigzag. So, that's what I was saying about McIntyre. It's he's just become, he's been taken down a notch. I thought he was going to be, dominant in these three guys, and if they booked them evenly, then he's at the level of Dolph Ziggler. And wasn't the whole idea of the breakup to get him away from the level of Dolph Ziggler?
We had Sasha, Bayley, and Ember beating Alicia, Dana, and Mickie James, and then the Riott Squad beat up the babyfaces afterwards. Paul Heyman sings a holiday song. Braun Strowman comes out.
So they do a spot where they and I don't know if this is a work on him because they've done this before, but his mic didn't work. But see, sometimes there is also technical failure. It's just weird how it's.
Well, we'll find out next week because it's a taped show. If his mic doesn't work on a taped show, chances are.
Yeah, you're right. If it's not
edited,
it was a rib. Yeah. So I guess that's something to look for. So his mic didn't work, and yeah.
We have.
So he's ripping on Sacramento. He sang Silent Night, talking about Brock Lesnar. The crowd was booing him, so he tells them he's going to start over again, and he sings it again. Then he started talking about how Brock Lesnar is going to destroy Braun Strowman. He talks about how Braun Strowman, when he was a kid for Christmas, got a replica championship belt, but grown-up Braun Strowman is not going to get the real belt. Braun Strowman comes out to confront Heyman. Paul Heyman goes, Happy Hanukkah. Braun puts a red nose and antler ears on Paul and said that Brock will get these hands.
Man, that really makes me clamor to see that match. We got reindeer comedy from Braun Strowman.
Antlers and red nose to build up Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar.
Man, if only he had a gold wig he could have put on his head. Maybe next time. There's still time.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey armbar Natalia to retain the title. Heath Slater beat Jinder Mahal via DQ.
Okay. So, Natalia and Ronda. Ronda was booed a lot, even though Natalia worked the match as kind of like a subtle heel. Not a heel, but like Natalia was there to kind of get Ronda over as a baby face, but the crowd, whatever it was, the crowd was more for Natalia.
Whatever it was, she beat up Becky Lynch.
Well, obviously, I know. Natalia started getting frustrated. She started doing hand pulling, punches. I was told this is a very good match. The crowd was a little more pro Natalia than Rousey, but it was mixed. Natalia got Ronda in the sharpshooter for a long period of time. Ronda made the rope. She got dragged to the center. She made the ropes again. She got dragged to the center. And then she had the match just about won. Ronda reverses out of the sharpshooter, gets the armbar for the tap out after the match. The crowd really wanted Natalia to turn on Ronda after the match. It did not happen. So, that's what happened.
Heath beat Jinder via DQ. Rhino came out dressed as Santa. Gordon Mahal. And then main event, Seth Rollins beat Baron Corbin with the curb stomp in the main event.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Well, it's Christmas Eve, and whatever the ratings are, it's not going to do particularly well, so it's kind of like one of those, the next 2 weeks of Raw after, it is what it is. It's kind of like you start the new season January 7th, and if you remember, they had some really bad Christmas shows in the past, where they, do a lot of that Christmas theme stuff really badly. So it's just kind of like, that's just kind of like the way it goes.
All right, take us through Being the Elite this week.
Well, it's not so much as far as like the Being the Elite, but the whole thing is, they did some of the comedy and everything like that.